Before we get started, these are all airsoft guns today. Quick reviews. This Humorex PPQ is good. This one's discontinued but cool. This is an early 2010s KWA manufacturer. It was good. So either we got lucky or our quality control declined in recent years. But just want to let you know that when I was shopping for my first real pistol, I didn't have that much hands-on experience, so I had to take several things into consideration when asking questions and whether I should take somebody's word for it so I can make an informed purchase. This is my journey to buying my perfect pistol. You can check out this video here called Why My Walther PPS M2 is My Perfect Gun to see all the things I like about it. And let's get right into this adventure to see how you can make your own purchasing decision. When I was shopping for a pistol, it had to be reliable over everything else. As I was only going to buy a pistol in a store, I knew from personal experience that if it was in a store, the store likely had to sell it. So there had to be a certain level of reliability or customers would either be mad or just not shop there and the store would go out of business. Next, I knew it had to be a 9mm pistol. It's the most common regular bullet since I didn't want 22 LR. I came to this conclusion by knowing that I wanted something for self-defense and needed 4 things. First, it had to have the ability to stop a threat. Second, the ability for that threat, once stopped, to be able to live. You stop a threat, you don't do terrible things. Third, the commonality, so the ammo would still be available. In 20 years, I don't want to have to buy a new one. I want to be able to still use it, right? So why wouldn't I just pick something that I know I can still use with pure certainty? And finally, the price. So I could afford the ammo. If the ammo is super expensive, it doesn't matter how common it is. If it's super expensive, then just I can't afford it. Like it doesn't make sense. So this was a simple question I could ask a sales associate. Is this a 9mm or is it not? And you get those snarky ones that are like, oh, it's 380, so it's technically 9mm. Like, no, you know what I mean. 9mm is 9mm by 19mm. Not 18, 19mm. Thirdly, it had to feel good in the hand so I can control it when shooting it. So if it didn't feel good in the hands and it didn't feel like I could handle it really well, then it wasn't worth buying because I'm not going to buy a gun that I can't handle. All of these happen to have really good grips. So these are all, they're airsoft, but they're replicas. So they all are really comfortable. This is the gun that I ended up buying as the airsoft version by the orange tip. That one's not mine. Somebody did that. And then this one's broken, but it's got a red tip. Fourthly, I had checked what guns. I wanted to know what accessories came with a gun. If it didn't come with anything like yeah, this is a really sweet gun, but it's only got one magazine. What? You can't spare a spare magazine. So if there were 2 guns and they were if this gun and this gun were all really cool guns and this one came with a spare magazine and this one didn't, this one would be a better value. So what does it come with, and factor that into the price. If these are the same price and these both feel really good and this one comes with a spare magazine, well, this one's the better value. Next I went by price. If this one was $50 cheaper and magazines were $20, this one came with 2 magazines and the magazines were also $20 and it was $50 more, it's still a better value. I would go with this. It's cheaper to get the spare magazine. It's cheaper. If this gun is $300, this one ended up being somewhere in the $400 range, the real one. So I went with this one. But now everything in the store is going to be super reliable. Most stores are less willing to take bets on companies that they don't really know because it's simple. You need to know that it's good. However, it's possible that they could have products that aren't reliable, so I did my own research. First and foremost, in doing my own research, I know that there's Glock. This is the #1 police pistol in the world for nearly 40 years now. It's a reliable gun that has become the standard of this is what makes a good pistol today. It's like the standard, right? Everybody knows it, everybody's seen it. Whether or not you know what a Glock is, you've probably seen one and know what it is, you don't know it's a Glock. Secondly, the newest, most popular gun at the time to sell was the Smith & Wesson brand M&P. So Smith & Wesson has a sub-brand called M&P, and they have this line called the Shield, or their Shield likes, like the Shield Easy and the M&P Compact. So these are another common brand that a lot of stores ended up trying to get people into. So now you have an American company that's making a good, reliable 9mm pistol. Thirdly, there's Sig Sauer, which now adopted the U.S. Army pistol. There's Beretta. This is an airsoft Beretta variant. And they made the previous Army pistol from like the 1980s onward. And that was also a good one. Colt has made military pistols. Walther has been around a long time and made military pistols for European nations. Springfield is also a long-running company. And there's just so many brands out there. I didn't even touch HK, CZ, Mossberg, FN, not even Carr. These big name companies are generally known to make a good quality product, and all of them have lifetime warranties. Before I went into the store, I just made sure which specific ones had lifetime warranties. I don't know which ones off the top of my head do and do not, but generally speaking, most of them are good quality products and lifetime warranties. It's kind of like going to the store and deciding, do I want an Apple phone or a Samsung phone? It's like, you almost can't go wrong with either one, except in the gun world with the pistols, there's, 50 Apples and, you know what I mean with that. Like, so many just, you can't go wrong with them choices. So now that I had a list of brands I could trust to make a reliable product that the manufacturer stood behind, I could start looking at the next part. How many 9mm pistols are there? Well, there's a lot. The first pistols I ended up looking at in the store were the Glocks because I know they're good. The Marine Corps just adopted a Glock for their new pistol. The standard with most modern 9mm pistols is that they disassemble into about 4 parts. So, this is an airsoft, but ignoring the magazine, you have the bottom, the top, the spring, and the barrel. So you have 4 major parts. There's extra parts in here because this is an airsoft gun, but you have 4 parts, generally speaking. Glocks also have multiple safety mechanisms. So Glocks have a double trigger. So Glocks have a double trigger. This is my real gun. This is a double trigger. So it doesn't go unless if you pull the front part. This isn't a manual safety, so this one's broken, but on this real one, you would click it, it would click. This one doesn't click anymore. This would be safe. So if I tried to pull the trigger, if it was working, it wouldn't let you pull. And then that's a manual safety because you click it into place and then you click to take it off safety and then it would let you shoot. So it does have a safety here, but it still has more. So it also has what are called drop safeties. So there's a part in here called a firing pin, and that's what hits the bullet and makes the bullet detonate. And that's what makes the gun go off. There's parts inside of the gun that prevent the firing pin from activating. On some guns, especially older guns, when this design of pistol was first being made in the early 1900s, they didn't have that concern because you just knew that if it was loaded, you would use it. And the only people using guns were in the military, pretty much. or at least pistols. So Glocks have now implemented what are called drop safeties. So if you drop, throw, kick, launch off a building, the Glock will not shoot at all. It has these safeties. Unless if you pull the trigger, the Glock will not go off. So now that I knocked out all the guns that didn't disassemble easily and didn't have good safeties, then I was able to research guns that I did want to look at. So while I was researching, I made a small list. I wanted to look at the Beretta M9, the Glock 19X, the Glock 26, the Glock 43, the Walther PPQ, the Walther PPS M2, the Walther PPS M1, the Springfield XD, the Springfield Hellcat, the CZ75, the Browning High Power, the SIG P365, 9mm 1911s, and a curveball, I wanted to look at Smith & Wesson branded 357 revolvers. I kept the 357 revolver on there because I shot one once, and I just wanted to check it out. It was quickly ruled out due to being too heavy and difficult to reload. I liked that I could shoot the calibers .38 and .357, and 357 revolvers are just super nice to shoot. If you ever get a chance, even if you never own one, they're so nice to shoot at the range. I didn't look at any HK guns because the store didn't have any used ones in stock on that day, and all the new HK guns are about $1,000. I also didn't look at any Smith & Wesson MMP brand pistols because I shot them 2 or 3 times in the past before I went to go buy my gun, and they have very skinny grips. So like if you look at this one, like that's a meaty grip. The MMPs are skinnier. I mean, this is what's called the double stack. This is a skinny grip as well, but they weren't like curved. They were like flat, almost rectangular. And when I went to shoot them, it felt like they were slipping out of my hands, and I really didn't like that. Other people like them. Other people think they're great. Other people are able to handle them. I don't like it from shooting it. So right off the bat when I got to the store, I felt the full metal guns and realized they were all way too heavy and much more expensive. For a first gun, I wanted something lighter. As my YouTube research said, is if you have a heavy gun, you're probably never going to take it with you. This knocked off the Beretta M9 and the CZ75. The store didn't have any Browning high powers. The CZ75 compacts also, they were nice and they were smaller, so they were lighter, but there was too little room on the slide to grip, and I opted out of those just because I couldn't grip the slide super easily. With this one, you have, we'll say 3/4 of an inch or 2 centimeters, roughly, to grip this gun. All the CZ75s were like a centimeter, so it's like what you see. It's just like, eh. And you got the controls in the way. Try them out. Maybe you like them, maybe you don't. So my list came down to the following models: Glocks, Walthers, Springfield plastic guns, the SIG P365, and micro 9mm 1911s. These are 1911s that are very, very, very small, and they're chambered in the caliber 9mm. Chambered just means the bullet that they take. With so many choices, I ended up forgetting about the Springfield guns as they didn't really stand out too much to me, and because the layout of the store, they happened to be physically further away from the other models in the store. So when I would look at a different gun, it would be like nearby, and the Springfields were like 20 feet away, where all the other ones were like more or less in the same 5-10 feet of each other. And then, so I ended up just forgetting about them because they were just too far. The store associate ended up talking me out of the micro 9mm 1911 because he said that there's too much recoil in a gun that small. I think that the Micro 1911 would have been really cool, but they only had a manual safety. They didn't have what are called beaver tails that full-size 1911s have. A beaver tail is a button, more or less. It's like, picture this whole part is like a lever, only halfway up the grip, including here. And it's a lever. And it prevents the trigger from being pulled unless if you hold the gun. So when you hold the gun, then you can pull the trigger. And because there was only the one safety, that I just wanted a little extra assurance. Additionally, because the store had so many different models of guns, they weren't able to tell me whether or not the Micro 1911s had drop safeties. Because the original 1911, made in the year 1911, did not have a safety. So later, they started making them with drop safeties, but depending on who's manufacturing the gun, because the patent expired, anyone could make it to the spec, or a similar spec scaled up or down. You don't know which version they're making. I also never dealt with a real 1911, so I didn't know what to look for if they would permit me to take them apart, but taking apart brand new guns in a store, you really, that's not something that, it's not good manners. So unfortunately they did lose the sale on that because of that, but I ended up buying something anyway because I needed something. So came down to just the few. First was the Glocks. The Glocks happened to be the most expensive pistols left in the final running. Glock versus Walther versus SIG P365. Glocks were all $500 range, high $500 range. The Walther PPQ was in the $700 range. So it came down to the Walther PPS M2 against the SIG P365. They didn't have any PPS M1s. Whilst I was at the store, I heard about something called a Sky, SCCY. This was a $200 pistol, so it ended up being the cheapest gun that I ended up looking at. But I ended up not liking something small, and I don't remember what it was. It was probably the trigger, or the roughness of the slide when I pulled back. It just didn't have a certain fit and finish, we'll say, that the other guns had. And I figured if I'm going to make an investment that I knew I would own for the rest of my life, I didn't want to not like little things, because those little things can add up. The grips were both excellent. The P365 also had what I call a 1911 style thumb safety. So on this airsoft pistol, this is what I would call a 1911 style, where you flick it up and down with your thumb, and the way you're supposed to do it is when you pick the gun up, you pull the safety down with your thumb, and you just keep your thumb holding the safety down. And then whenever you put it down, you put the safety on before you put the gun down, because you're handling the gun. When you go to shoot, you don't want the safety to accidentally knock up and now you can't shoot. However, I ended up choosing the Walther in the end. And I chose this because several reviews online said the SIG P365 was noted to break a certain component that was necessary to the function of the gun after only 10,000 rounds. I don't want a gun that'll break on me randomly through regular operation. For me, when I go to the shooting range, I shoot anywhere from 100 to 200 rounds in a range day. That's about 150 average, so after less than 70 trips to the range, it's broken. That means for $500, something that's supposed to last me my entire life only lasted me 2 to 3 years. Since I have purchased the Walther PPS M2, I have loved it. It does have a few minor problems, but they're hardly a concern. Get subscribed to see the few issues I've had in my roughly 500 rounds of use in my upcoming video. Thanks for watching, and good luck in your adventure.